small county in North Carolina.
Okay. All right, now let's get Kayl up in their place. We might move all these on this side.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Let's go up to the need to figure it out. Let's figure it out. So you want to wait a minute? Some people don't.
The boss man gonna be over there.
You want to just keep it circle like this?
Yeah, keep it big circle.
Let me get the camera.
All right. So,
Hey, why not? All right, y'all need y'all to look at the camera, and if you don't see yourself, you can't nobody else see you.
Marvin and Sayla on the couch beside Paul. And they're gonna have the three boss men on the end.
Oh, we all getting this? Okay.
Yes.
No, we're not gonna sit on the couch. We're gonna stand up.
No.
You want me to do different sides? Well, you know what they do work. They sit on the couch like stand be good, but they can't stand up and sit on the couch.
No, but Kayl's the only one's gonna stand up. Everybody else is sitting down. Tell me what you want, honey. Tell me what you want.
Okay, that works.
Okay.
I got you. That works.
That works?
If everybody gonna sit down, it works.
All right, y'all gotta sit like family.
We gotta sit like
Marvin, you gotta get over there and sit like family.
like family. Okay.
Yeah. Over there and sit like family. Get close, get close. So somebody gotta sit beside you. We're gonna put Larry's Hodges beside you.
I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, there. And
That might
then,
be.
so we just have to operate two cameras. Can we do the two
I can
cameras?
operate two cameras. You know, I'm just not. I'm like, man, that's not trying to hit out.
That works.
Oh yeah, that.
Perfect. All right. So,
Oh yeah, that works.
actually,
Yeah, that works. That was good.
Michael, can you get his mic?
I mean, they need to feel it too.
Yeah.
Even knowing that the enemy was after his life, he still came to earth to chill like a package of ice. Now for those who don't know me like he actually
Once you start making it, I'm going to talk with Kayl and Paul about her book. And then for the roundtable discussion, first of all, we're going to Larry, your thoughts, black men, and mental health, and Michael is going to give you his work.
But if you fake it, you should really stop, man. He should never end seat like a 1990s pop back. So calm down with that hooting and the hollering. Christ don't need a Twitter if you really want to follow him.
Look at my life and see the perfect hand of God. To continue on this path, I must admit sometimes it's hard. When obedience is questionable and lines you draw across.
You feel it?
Yeah. It's good.
Say what's said, and this your boy Shout Ello. Right now, you're on Instinct Radio. Let's get it. Shout it.
All right, you guys, you're back live with Regina Sunshine and the Boss Man here on the Living Like a Boss show. This is our Black Men and Mental Health edition, I guess you would say. And our next guest up, we have Kayl and Paul. Hey, how are you guys doing?
Great. What about you?
Doing good, doing good. I'll let you introduce, because you know you're part of Instinct Radio family, so I'll let you introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Kayl May. I am one of the co-hosts for Women of Empowerment Radio here on the #1 station of Instinct Radio. And this is my husband, Paul May.
I can speak for myself.
Well, we wanted to have you guys on today because you wrote a book specifically about your journey in your marriage, and I just want you to share the book and allow you and Paul both to share your thoughts on what the journey you've been on and moving forward.
Okay. Well, the book is The Unveiling of a Mask, and we decided to call it The Unveiling of a Mask because no one knew that my husband suffered with schizophrenia, a mental illness. And most of the time when people look at someone who has a mental illness, they say, you know, they have to have a certain look or they have to have a certain type. And we were blessed to go with LaQuandra Alexander, L.A. Pink, every fourth Sunday and feed the homeless and prepare different things for them and donate clothing. And some of the people who were there will come in and say, you know, that person's crazy, because they have the look of something is wrong with them. What they don't understand is there's not a look to a mental illness. You could be standing right next to someone, and most of the time they were, because most of the things that we do together. They were standing next to someone else who had a mental illness. So we wanted to bring awareness to that so people can see that the reason you see someone most of the time who has a look of having a mental illness is because they are self-medicating themselves, or because they don't have the support that's needed from family and friends, because most people don't understand when things are going wrong with you. They think, the first thing they think about when you start to having some of these hallucinations and things, they think that you're on drugs. So by the grace of God, God gave us the strength to be able to, because this is something we never ever talked about before we actually started writing our book, but to share our journey so some other people can see that, you know, there is life after a diagnosis of a mental illness.
Awesome. Well, Paul, it's so good to have you here in Instinct Radio Studios today. Talk to us about, I guess, how your diagnosis was made.
Well, first of all, I want to thank is this the Boss Show?
It is the Boss Show.
I want to thank you for having us and having me on here with my wife. And, well, my diagnosis was like 2001. And that, I just want to say that mental illness is not a bad thing for people that going through it. I call it a blessing, because some people can't go through it like I can go through it. Because if you going through something that God is ordained for it to happen, because it wouldn't never happen to me to go through it if he didn't ordain me. I wouldn't be here today to be right here on the TV talking about mental illness. That when you go through something, you can go through it with God's help, with his strength and his power and his might. Because, you know, he cares about us all. And when I was diagnosed in 2001, I thought that was the end of my journey for God. And like the gentleman was saying that, you know, they was that God was, like the gentleman right here, and they were saying about God touched him when he was doing drugs and stuff. And all that. God touched me when I was doing something, but mine was mental illness. But it's to help people and to get people to show them that they can make it through mental illness and stuff. Now, if I'm not talking right, it's because of the medicine. You know, I take medicine for this, and it slows me down because I used to be kind of fast. You know, but it slowed me down. But I just wanted to say that, and that the book is a good book to read, and it bring, you know, people that mental illness, that they can function and they can have a productive life in society, and they can do what they, you know, that God wants them to do in the society, you know.
Well, I'm so thankful for you guys' transparency, because you're talking about things like some of the other topics we talked about that people don't want to talk about. People don't often want to share the struggles or their victories even in their life. Why was it so important for you to make sure this book happened?
Well, like I said, we never wanted to be an author. I was in a near-fatal car wreck December 2013, and he thought that I was going to be going through some depression and things, because I couldn't walk for like 5 months. And he said, write a book. And I'm like, write a book? We don't even discuss it. We don't discuss it amongst ourselves. When a crisis happens, we handle that crisis. You know, and then we just go on, you know, with our life, creating good memories so that we can have something to reflect back on when we're going through it. So I never wanted to write the book, but once I saw once I started talking to other people about writing the book, and once we started bringing it out a little bit more, you had so many people coming up to us saying, you know, I have a mother, I have a father, I have a brother, I have a sister, I have a child, my spouse is this and my spouse is that. And I'm saying this is something that needs to be talked about, because they were excited because someone else mentioned the word mental illness, because they had no one else to speak to about it. And sometimes it's harder when you're going through the struggle. We have learned how to manage our struggle now, so it's easier for us to come out and talk about it now, to give some other people hope who maybe just started on that. Because we've had a lot of people, and I tell this story all the time. I was speaking to someone else, telling them about the book, and a young lady was standing next to me, and she began to cry. And I was like, are you okay? Because I wasn't even talking to her. I was like, are you okay? And she was like, yes, I just wanted to congratulate you and thank you for sticking by your husband, because I'm bipolar, and when I wasn't on my medication, my husband not only left me, he left me with my 3 children. So if you can't take care of yourself because you're not taking your medication, what man is going to leave you with 3 children to take care of as well? You know, so it was important for us to get out and give those people hope, to let them know if you have the support, if they have the medication, you have to have the support. if you have the right doctors, if you have the medication, you can have a successful life.
Awesome. Well, I want to, I guess, bring into this conversation Laris Hodges, normally here with us for the Living Like a Boss show. It's so great to have you here. Also, the host of A Beer and a Conversation here Tuesday nights on Instinct Radio. Laris, your thoughts on why it is such a stigma in our community to talk about mental illness?
Well, thank you, Regina. Actually, we just did a piece on this last Tuesday, and we're going to be continuing on with mental illness. One of the tricks of the enemy is to get you isolated and to make you believe that uniquely there's something wrong with you and everyone else is okay. And so, thank you so much for being here. It says so much. We overcome by the testimony of other people. And so what happens is because of these things that we deal with, if we don't communicate with people, we often find ourselves in positions where we feel like there's something wrong with us and we're afraid to come out about it. And so what we have to do, we have to have more discussions like the one we're having today. We have to have more people who are willing to come out and say, look, I struggle with this. And even as I listened to the show earlier, I was just telling Mike during the break, a couple weeks ago, I have a 12-year-old daughter. Her mother called me, and I had to go out there to the house because her mom went through her phone and seen her on some inappropriate sites, and so I just recently had to have that discussion too. And so it's very important that we control what goes into our minds. And it's not just the media that we take in, it's the people that we surround ourselves with. And I think that sometimes we have, we think if we can stay away from negativity, we'll be good. But it's more than that. Me and you have had discussions. You have to surround yourself with people who are uplifting, who you can rely on, who you can confide in when you're going through things. Because we're all, as men, you can't get through life, especially as a black man, from the time that we were born. We live in a society that has done everything to make us second guess ourselves, doubt ourselves, make us believe, we're made to believe that we're not worthy. And so this is a very touching subject, because as a black man, it took me to get to a certain point to where I could stop doubting myself when it came to things. So this is difficult, but the only way that we're going to be able to reach people is if we come out, we have these discussions, and we're transparent, and we realize, like what this brother here said, that God is not going to put any more on me than I can bear, and that maybe sometimes God bring you through things so that you can be a blessing to somebody else. But if you keep quiet, that cannot happen.
Amen. Amen. So where can we find the book? Let's say that before we get into this discussion.
You can find the book on Amazon, Create Space, and Barnes & Noble online. It's $20.
Awesome. Michael Dreamer. Michael Supreme is our boss ambassador. And one of the things we have talked about is we start into the roundtable discussion, because this is the piece that I believe takes us out into the community, that he would be the one leading those discussions. So, Michael.
Okay. And so as Laris was speaking, like it's something that resonated in my spirit, like real heavy. And that's as a man, thank you, so is he. As a man, thank you, so is he. And so everybody that's in this room right now has a particular calling for their life to go out and do great things. But right now, when we're in this room, the conversation is just happening in this room. And it's just happening for the people that are seeing this online. But there's a world of people out there. There's a world of people that will exist after each and every last one of us is dead and gone. And so it's like we're doing things now, but what is that generational attachment? What is that generational attachment to the things that we're doing, so that we can say the next generation beyond us will be great? The next generation will be able to think differently. Like one of my mentors told me just recently. He was like, brother, listen, this is what my mother told me. He said, my grandfather washed the car so that my dad can drive the car, so that we can own the car. But the problem is we have no idea that there's a car, because of all of the different things that have been going on in our life that's positioned us to be able to think differently, to feel differently, to build low self-esteem, depression, and all of these different types of mental issues. And so the question for the group is, beyond what you're doing right now, beyond what you're doing today, beyond where you see yourself 5-10 years from now, like how can you really see the work that you're doing right now be able to transcend 5-10 generations beyond you?
how I can see that transcending time. You have to put yourself in the future and talk to your future self. This is what I do. Like, this is 2020. What I want to say to people then, to bring it back to the time I'm at now. And that's that's what I put in my poetry. I want to reach somebody before they even get to that point in their life where they have to look back and not reflect on how they got there.
That's real.
I'm sorry.
Well, I can say something while you're waiting while they're deciding which one's going to say something. One of the things that we're doing, we want to make a movie out of it. Paul is in the process of writing his book. Is through mine eyes, so people can see exactly what he's going through, because it's so important for us to know some of the signs and symptoms. If you're not really connected to that person, you won't know that they're doing something out of the ordinary until it gets too bad where you can't get them any help. So we want to do a movie because there are not any movies, it's not conversations about mental illness. Just like you said, the shift had changed when we came up, because we're talking about something that everyone is not comfortable talking about. And once we get comfortable talking about that and the shift doesn't change, then people can really want to see movies about it. That's only one movie that I know of that's about it. It was in 1988. And I tell you, the same way that people look at schizophrenia and mental illness back then, in 2017, they're still looking at it. And people are saying, you have to make it more romantic. And it is a love story. We met when we were 16 and 18, love at first sight, all of this stuff, and raised a family out of it. But it's also to bring that real awareness. And that was one of the things when he told me to write the book, I was like, well, I'm direct. So it's going to be real. Right. So make sure. So we want the movie to be real, but then they're saying, are people really going to watch it? The ones who need it, those are the ones who are going to watch it. So that's what we want to do to help the future.
When I told her to write the book, the Lord told me to tell her to write the book at that particular time. And I was a minister before all of this happened to me. And I was preaching, and I was doing what I was doing for the Lord. I was speaking in young kids' lives, like the gentleman said, speaking their life and tell them they can be this, they can be great, they can be, no matter what they're going through, they can make it. And God brought it back to me. And he told me, he said, no matter what you're going through, I put this in your life, you can make it. And that's what you can do, still speak God out of your mouth, still speak prosperity, still speak healing to people. No matter what your situation is, no matter how the medicine make you do, you still speak my name. And I told her, I said, write the book and about us, about mental illness. And she did. And so that's what one of the things that we liking is that too many people, when they're going through something, still have that faith. That's what I wanted to meet mental illness people that going through that, thing happening to them, think people doing something to them or whatever, I want them to know that God said, I'm still alive, I'm still in your life, I still can show you places and take you places just to speak my name. If I'm not preaching the word on the stage, I can preach the word in the street or preach the word in wrong people just saying his name. If I just say Holy Ghost, Holy Ghost, let it rain on somebody. I'm still doing what he want me to do, but he got me in a different path with the book. And that's what the book is all about, for us to bring restoration to kids that's on mental illness, that if they can take a medicine, that they can still be productive and still live a normal life and still succeed in their life and still be somebody.
One of the things we're trying to do is, people say Christianity got a bad branding problem, have a branding problem. And when we see so many people that was hurt and not able to come through the door because of people got this, I don't know where to get it from, this stigma of what is righteousness, that it pushed away a lot of people that was hurting me. So when me and my wife decided, okay, we're gonna launch a church, we're gonna launch a life-giving church, and it's really built on not upon people's needs, but upon people's gifts. Right. I don't want a lot of sheep I want a lot of shepherds. Right. So how do you bring a sheep and make him a shepherd? Because if you produce leaders, and that's what we focus on, producing leaders, not people who need to be. I'm just gonna say this: when somebody comes to me and say, Pastor, I just, where I'm from, I just ain't getting the word. It just ain't feeding me. I really love the way you feed me. Only person that can get fed is a baby. Right. An adult fixes his own food. So really that's what a person telling me right now. I'm a baby, and so which means you're going to act like a baby. So I have to treat you like a baby. I got to pamper you. I got to rock you. I got to do all this stuff to you. So we want to produce self-feeders that can go to the Word and feed themselves and produce leaders. Because I'm very strong on if we as people begin to produce leaders out of our children, out of adults, then they can, it's not me. The church should look like me. It should look like the people that God sent me. So that's what we're focused on right now, producing leaders and shepherds instead of sheep.
Awesome. And so that's does anybody got anything else? Go ahead.
One thing I'm working on is a mentoring program. Because again, in business, my target audience is entrepreneurs, old people, got a little money, maybe, or whatever. But my focus, my passion, my ministry has been pushing me to these kids, or whatever. To more so, like Mark was saying, I'm sorry. Speaking life into them. Again, when you're looking at 3rd, 4th, 5th, 8th graders who all they see is rap music, negative images, etc., no one's telling them you are smart, you are intelligent, you can go to college. So if we don't have the experiences that one speak to that little kid that's in them while they're already a little kid, then as well as give them experiences outside of what they're used to or whatever. So like my niece and nephews was on a boat or whatever. So they never been on a riverboat. Never been in a situation where you have a quote unquote a fine dining experience. So again, you can't expect them to go out and just automatically know how to do it when they get older. And so you build the confidence in them to a whole totally different level so that as they grow older, then they're able to act a little bit differently, or be prim and proper, more well-rounded or whatever. So the foundation is going to have that mentoring program that actually kind of bring those, I guess you would say, inner city kids to get them to those places to where they don't have to feel inferior, feel lack of confidence, etc., in what it is that they're doing. So I'll be bringing on more people to kind of help push that out.
You know what? While everybody was talking, I was probably back here a little quiet, but I just had an idea that dawned on me, right? So anybody here familiar with Yelp?
Yeah.
Right? Yelp, right? It reviews everything, right? So a lot of problems exist in our community because we don't punish the people that's doing negative, right? It's a lot of people that sell their souls to whatever industry to promote whatever negative images they want, right? So you have the ones that get on reality TV show and act just ignorant because that's what reality TV show wants, right? We got the rappers that rap about some of it may be real, but a lot of it is college graduates acting like they were drug dealers, right? So why don't, as a attempt to change the culture and call these people out, but not only just call them out, but call them out with some impact. And what I was just thinking about is because this has to be a community thing. And I was thinking of like a Yelp system of grading what's popping and what's not. And you don't want to be, and the system has to be powerful enough that we can make an impact either to their sponsors or to the people that support them so that they can feel the heat a little bit, right? Fox just got rid of Bill O'Reilly because of 20 years of sexual misconduct at Fox. And it wasn't until sponsors started to pull out. You understand what I'm saying? So with our little, I'm using Yelp, but our little system, because even though we're having this discussion in this room, some of the people that we're trying to mentor and we're trying to target, the other people that's backed by much more powerful systems or more people with bigger money and bigger platforms, our kids are still looking up to them, right? They're going to hear us. No, they're going to listen to us, but they're going to hear them, right? They're going to listen to us, and they're going to see the flashy whatever material items that they see that they glorifying, right? So I was just thinking of a way to say, how can we put together a system that says, hey, this is not cool, and we're not going to stand for it as a community.
Got it. And so one thing I want to say, if it's okay with all the guys here, what I want to do is kind of throw a little funk in the midst of what's going on right now and really, really challenge people to step outside of their comfort zones. Because it's easy to look polished. It's easy to look clean. It's easy to act like everything's okay. It's easy to get on the show and say that this is the way you're supposed to think, this is the way you're supposed to move. Like everything that we talk about on this show as a whole, it reflects back to looking in the mirror. It reflects back to being transparent with yourself, who you are. What is that dark area inside of you that needs to shift in order for you to grow? And so what I challenge all the guys to do right here on the spot, and I'll start with myself, is look in the mirror right now in this moment. Embrace whatever that weakness is and accept it. Because like one of the things they say when they do A&A meetings, I've never been to an A&A meeting, but you see it in all the movies. You have to be able to accept the fact that you're an alcoholic, admit that you're an alcoholic in order to be able to start transition, you know? And so for us, I know that there are dark areas inside of each and every last one of us right now in this moment. And if we're talking about transitioning mentally, if we're talking about growing mentally, we have to shift that first. That makes sense? And so the crazy thing for me is this pornography situation, you know? Like when I was introduced to pornography, at the age of 12 years old. And it was crazy because I grew up in an all-boys neighborhood. And so what they did for me, I was the holy roller. You know, like me, my brothers, my sisters, we never cussed anything, like church all the time, the whole nine. But what they did, what the older guys did, they had a newspaper out in the middle of the street, very gullible, very naive. They were like, go get the newspaper, brother. Like they left it, they didn't throw it in the driveway. I picked it up, ran and got it, and there was a little porno magazine in there. That was my first time being exposed. And then understanding that my next door neighbor, his uncle, was a porn addict. Everything that he did, he had a car full of porn magazines, always watching the videos, and I had an uncle that was the same way. So I went down that same exact path. And so it's like, I understand everything that you're talking about when you talk about what's going on with the mental, the psyche, the relationships, and everything like that. But for me, because I got a whole other side of life that speaks against that, I understand how not to allow that to control what's going on with me mentally. But I understand the weakness in that area. And so for me, one of my dark areas right now is the pornography issue, you know? But for me being able to put that on the forefront on the table right now, that's my open door to say enough is enough. That's my open door to say that that mental issue is no longer an issue. That makes sense? And so are any other brothers willing to step up to the table?
Yeah, I could definitely say I used to be addicted to porn, and it's a stronghold, man. It's definitely a stronghold. Just like 5 years ago, and I was delivered, man. I have no desire to watch it. Even if I glance on Facebook and see some crazy stuff, I have no desire to click on it or anything like that. But I would say, for me, because I come from the streets of gangster and fighting and stuff, and so sometimes I have to check myself, man, you know, because that fighter, you know, I had to keep him, and sometimes, you know, I'll be like, yeah, you know, shadow box, you know, like, well, my nigga would, why would nigga would, you know, and hit him with a 2-piece real quick, you know, and that's my, I guess that would be like my dark thing, man, you know, keeping that brother up under subjection, staying humble. You know, people look at me like, oh yeah, why you so chill, so laid back, and you know, and I said, brother, trust me, I have to because I can't allow that monster, that beast, and you know, he's gonna be worse off if I let him out the cage than I was 20-some years ago. So I always have to keep him up under subjection. You know, because he was that dude, you know, so that's
piggybacking off of what he just said, my thing I have to look into the mirror and maybe check myself on is my self-belief, right? Knockout mechanism is when in boxing they punch you in the chin, you get knocked out, God is like, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know how to control your body, God is like, take a break. Well, I used to knock myself out all the time because between the ages of 16, no, maybe between the ages of 13 and 20, I was reckless. I was gung-ho. I wanted to be a millionaire at the age of 21. And selling crack was my way. I was either going to sell crack or I was going to take it from somebody. So I found myself, like I said, I was knocking myself out. I was putting myself in the worst predicaments I've ever been. So now that I have full control over myself from those prior mistakes, my self-belief is kind of in question because it's like, do you really know what you're doing? or are you about to go down that path? And believe me, it's not about crack anymore, but it's still about belief and confidence, right? I'm in the business now where I deal with monsters, savages, who's real estate brokers, lenders, Wall Street people, you know what I'm saying? So that's a different kind of savage that I have to be confident in my game, right? I deal with city councilmen, I deal with political people who are also savages. And I find myself not sure at times, right? So I need to look at myself and say, you got 2 arms, 2 legs, a brain, just like those guys. And just like my brother right here said, we've been to prison, we convicts. I got 2 murder records. I got 2 murder raps on my rap sheet. Anybody pull my criminal history, that's what they'll see. You understand what I'm saying? So I got to put all of that in back of me to say, you know what, today's an opportunity. What I said I was blessed for, today's opportunity. And I gotta really put it, because where I am now, I feel like I could be 10 times more. You understand? And my family needs that. The community needs that. I need to give as much as I can to as many people as I can to make them better. So that's something.
Yeah, I'm completely in agreement with that, and that's something that I'm constantly fighting with, because I have so many responsibilities and so many big things, and sometimes I look at my father, who accomplished quite a bit, and I look at where I am at my age versus where he was at my age, and it creates a lot of doubt. You know, we're fighting a lot of things. The people that I work with are of a different cultural, they're in a different region of the country, and they're constantly putting me in a position where they're making me feel like I'm inadequate for what I do. And I believe that a portion of that is so that, you know, if they're always making me question how well I'm performing, I can't ask for more money. So it could all be strategic. But I don't know. I mean, you know, it's like I'm in a matrix. There's so many things, so many moving parts going on around me. I heard a minister say something to me one time. He was like, my father always told me. He's like, when he bought a GMC one time from Greg Barranco, he said, when there's something wrong with the car, you need to take it back to the manufacturer. You don't take it somewhere else. You need to take it back to where it was manufactured. And so he said, us as individuals, we have to do that too. We have to, when we're going through things and have issues, we have to go back to who created us, because they're the only person that have the codes. And so part of, as we talk about this, as we develop this, and I mean, it's inspiring that you said that, because it resonated with me in ways that you have no idea. I believe that God will make our trouble our transportation too. So if we're going through these things mentally, and we're dealing with them constantly, sometimes you can't sleep at night. You got a family. God is allowing some of these things, I think, to come upon us, because I think that what he's saying is, we know that we're right on the threshold of doing some big things. I think that what God is trying to say is that you're going to have to rely on me completely. And until you get to that point, and so, you know, sometimes we have to be pushed to that point. That we say, you know what, for everything that we do, we're going to have to become reliant on God. And that's honestly the only way that we're going to be able to affect generational change and tap into the talents that we have and the things that he has for us to do.
And it's crazy because while Larry was speaking, like all God kept putting in my heart and all God kept putting in my spirit was the things that we worry about. The things that are issues for us, the insecurities that sit in our minds are the things that keep us here. And so my brother mentioned earlier, like, we got to understand that these bodies are for rent. Like, this flesh is not real. Like, what I'm looking at is not for real. Like, the soul of you, the inside of you is all that matters. And that's always good. That's always whole. That always has everything that it needs in order to go to the next level. And so when we talk about the things that we're doing as individuals to create change in this world, or even if we just talk about things that we're doing just to create change with our families, y'all got to be real. 100%. No change is going to happen until you decide to put yourself in a position where you understand that you have no control. And that issue was never an issue to begin with. That issue never existed. That issue was an issue that we created mentally because we didn't want to accept the fact that he was the only one in control. We wanted to stay here. And y'all got just think about it, man. Like, living here is like living in hell. living a day here is like living 1,000,000 years in hell, because of all of the different things you got to go through, all of the different things you got to hold up to. Like as men, they say men, like men don't cry. Somebody mentioned that earlier. Men aren't supposed to cry. Men aren't supposed to be weak. Men are supposed to be strong. Men are never supposed to break down. All of this this stuff about men that are supposed to be powerful about us. But when you really rip all of that away, and you really look at us for who we really are, like some of us are probably more emotional than women are. Some of us are probably more broken than women are. But the problem is we suppress it.
Can I say something? I don't know about this hell, but this hell to me, I'm living in paradise. Yeah, I can't tell them keep this hell. You know, I feel you though. I feel what you're saying. The struggles and the struggles and everything. How can I say that? We this is a good thing he said, the body, mind, and soul. Because your body is the very vehicle that you execute God's blessing to people. Right. So you can look at this flesh and say it ain't nothing, but it is something. Because without it, you can't execute what God gives you to give somebody. So if you don't take care of this, when God tells you to move, you can't do nothing because you're so lazy, out of shape, and mind gone. So you have to take care of the full totality. And I think that's why I'm back into the branding problem of Christianity. Because we forgot that you're earthly creatures. What sits within is a spiritual, is something spiritual, but that spiritual has to ride in a vehicle. And if that vehicle is tore down, I don't care how spiritual you are, you ain't gonna get to where you're going. That's just how it functions. So we have to really touch the totality of the human being, not separate him and think one part can go this way and another part can go this way, another part can go this way, but you need to go focus with all body parts. Everything needs to be in line. Everything, and I go with Musla. I'm gonna be short, and I deal with that because y'all know my history. I spent 25 years in prison, and so one of the things I did with judges, I work for the state, I work with lawyers. I'm friends with the mayor. I gotta go speak to the commissioner tomorrow. And when we in these banquets and they're talking about their past, that's when my insecurity settled in, because I have no past. I don't have that in years to go back and they're having these conversations. That children, and when they went through this, where do I speak? I don't know to start a conversation about a jail cell. So, but that's my life. Yeah. So I sit and I just let on talk because that's where my insecurities fall into me. Because I don't have a past other than a cell. So that's my fight. That's what I fight when I'm around them. You quiet, Akeem? I'm just listening.
I believe this mic is off. When you said about the gentleman about mind and soul, and when my situation in 2001, mental illness, and when my mind was fighting against, I said principality, that things, not just one thing, were coming up on me that I had a problem with, just a whole lot of things, because it looked like, how you say, the 5 forces just came out on me at once, if you understand what I mean. But he kept me to a point that when you look at mental illness, that the greatest thing for mental illness is that it's like the Apostle Paul when he had the thorn in his side. And he asked the Lord to remove the thorn in his side. But the Lord said, I want you to keep going with the thorn in your side. Because you're gonna it make you, what I'm trying to get to the mental illness people about the book, that our mental illness people that is bound down by principality and different things in the world, that they can still perform what God wants to perform. God will make a platform for you to talk about God and to release your faith with others, that some of them might not even want you to, but some of them might want you to. But God put it that right there, like this time is meant to be. So you can still do what you, that's what I'm looking for myself. All of us go through different things. My role might not be his role in 25 years. He said in prison, but my role is right now, what I'm doing right now. Yeah. And I thank Boss and I thank God for letting me sit here and talk about, mental illness, and get the book, whatever y'all see and talk about mental illness, and it can help you out.
Yes, get the book.
Well, we are out of time, but I want everybody in 10 seconds or less, and 10 seconds goes fast, just, if you have something you need to say, you want to shout out your organization, you want to give your social media, whatever you want to do in these last 10 seconds. We can start on the end with Michael Supreme. You don't always say Michael Dreamer. Just that fast.
I just want 10 seconds. Remember who you are and always be who you are.
Awesome.
Tomorrow from 6 to 9, Instinct Radio, Beer in the Conversation, where we will be continuing the discussion on mental illness.
Pause. And I want to say something. Larry and I had talked about something. There are a lot of things that we talk about on the Boss Show because of the time constraints that we don't finish these conversations. And so what he and I have been talking about is continuing the conversation from this show to his show. So if you're here and you want to continue this discussion with Laris on his show in terms of I won't just say black men, but our community in mental health, then connect with him and the discussion will continue. That work?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
If you got a dream, you got a gift, connect with me. King Woodard is AAKEEM@gmail.com. Look us up on Facebook. It's City Reach Church Lithonia.
I would say empower yourself, believe in yourself, and do mirror talk.
I want to shout out my fiance and all my children. Follow my group Black Soul on Facebook, BLAKSOL. Again, my name is Selah, spoken word artist.
Hi, this is Kayl May. Our book is The Unveiling of a Mask, but I really want to say is you can get the book and you'll see the book, and if you see me online at Kayl May, join my timeline. But I really want to say to the men up here, especially the ones that have said that they have been in prison, this is what our young men need to see. Not only that, we want to stop them from going to prison, but a lot of them have already been there now. And they see, like you said, they see that they have been beat down and there's no future for them. And I want them to be able to look at you all and see there is a future for them. There is definitely a future for them. And so it's so good for you all to be transparent as well and share your stories. That's awesome.
Coming to the show today, it was about mental illness. And of course, I probably thought about it or many of us that's listening probably thought about I don't have a mental illness. But after the show, if you're acting like someone other than yourself, and that self is somebody who can call you and who can call out that your actions is not typical of yourself, you may have mental illness.
1 in 5 Americans have a mental illness. 1 in 25 have a serious mental illness.
Quickly, because I didn't get to share earlier, it's just a matter of understanding that mentorship is not something that you can really apply for. It's something that you kind of have to be called to. So my charge, I guess, in my 10 seconds is, be open to mentoring someone, because everybody needs someone to talk to. A lot of times, us as kids, our kid self didn't have that person that they could go back and talk to, which is how we end up as the messed up adult. Even when we're dressed up in a nice bow tie, we still have different things that we have to deal with and go through. So have that person that you can go to and that you can trust and talk to, and be that person that someone can come to and can trust in everything. So.
Well, I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you, Michael Supreme, for that question at the end. I think there are probably people who are listening that are examining that thing, because we're all dealing with something, right? But it's easier to pretend you're not dealing with something. And I'll be transparent. One of my biggest things is self-doubt as well. That's something I'm constantly building myself up about, because I'm hearing all these things. Regina Sunshine this, Regina Sunshine that. And I'm like, wow, I'm just Regina. Does that make sense? And so I'm wondering what everybody sees sometimes in terms of, Regina Sunshine. And so I go back and I look in the mirror and I say, you know what, you're all right. You're beautiful, you're smart, all these other things. But because of those positions you're being put in where you don't qualify to be, sometimes you have that question that pops up. So I thank you for saying that. But yeah, I do. And as Marvin says, I'm big on positive affirmations. I get in the mirror every day and I remind myself, it don't matter what they say or even the doubts that may try to creep up. You amazing, and you still can go out and do everything that God has told you can do. So thank you, brother, for that. To our boss men, I leave you with our boss man. I wasn't going to read this, but because of the things that were spoken here today, I believe I have to remind you of what our boss mandate is. It's Joshua 1:6-9, and it says, be strong and courageous. because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. That word is specifically to our men, and I say that because there are so many things we're facing in our community that it's going to take strong and courageous men out front leading the way, so that those of us, the women and children, can come behind and really see the community and the lives that we are looking for. So we love you guys. We thank you for those of you who are out here doing the good work, being transparent, being who we need you to be. We love you, right, Kay? We love you. Continue to be who you are. We will continue to support you. All right? So that's it for today. I remind you of our boss motto. We always say our men need each other, and our community needs our men. You guys be blessed, keep winning, and keep living like a boss.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're now tuning into the very best of your truly Jazzy State Radio.
All right. You want us to take a picture of where we are, or go ahead, everybody stand up? What's best for you? Want everybody stand up? Okay. Let's everybody get the boss sign behind you.
Reaction by the officer. Now a family is demanding answers.
Guess what? For a second.
Let the struggle go on. Let the struggle go. Let the struggle go.
Get the boss sign. And whoever can hop on the seat, that would be good.
Let the struggle go.
All right.
Just let the struggle go.
Jack Trey gotta come on.
Thank you.
We're gonna get one. They got it. You might help me get out that hole.
I'm gonna grow my wings. That's your 15 pound family.
You don't got that new S8. You can't tell them nothing now. Oh, okay.
Right. See, she had a hand free.
Thank you, guys.
Let the struggle go on. Let the struggle go. Let the struggle go. Let the struggle go.
What you say, Jack?